Such utter arrogance, even as our game comes to an end. Perhaps I should not be so surprised. Was that not the point, after all? To tell a tale of noble heroes brought down by their own hubris. It is the joke, after all. But I can't deny it irritates me. Just a little. I can't help it, I suppose. To deny knowledge when it is right in front of you, to deny the truth, to live in delusion, it spoils the punchline, at least for me. A waste. In the end it matters not, though, if I am entertained by all this. It only matters that my great master is. And soon, they certainly shall, soon a great Shiragetru will manifest fully, the dear crown prince having been prepared their whole life as a suitable vessel. Soon the 8 other portals shall open, and the Empire will be swarmed by demonic hordes. The world will not end this day, but it will be the beginning of the end for the Empire. And the hammer, well, I admit it would have been better the damn thing had been thrown into some abyss after it was removed, but Shiragetru was insistent it be present, to be cast down in front of the high and mighty of Sigmar's chosen city. It certainly is poetic to have it literally fall into darkness right before the Emperor himself, but it is still a risk. But I had to appease the great Lord of Change just a little to get them to go along with my little plan. Siegfrieda was not wrong. They are purely driven by the desire for petty revenge and nothing more. Still, it's only a small risk. Everything else has gone exactly as planned. Those fools don't have time to find someone worthy to wield that accursed thing. I shall be keeping the Emperor busy. And anyone else? It's simply too late. And just in case a miracle does occur, I certainly won't stand by and let them ruin my show. This is Red Moon Roleplaying. The skies above Altdorf begin to churn as a great storm comes over the city. High above the Imperial Palace, a great purple vortex begins to slowly grind its way into existence. Several other, smaller purple portals also appear in various parts of the city. From them spew demons, hideous blue-purple abominations, strange, disc-like creatures almost like fish, and even more horrors. Slowly, but surely they come. There is panic on the streets. The militia, the watch doing their best to contain the crowds which were expecting their new emperor to emerge from the palace and instead see this horror as the city shakes. Some scouts in the distance see even more purple portals far, far away over cities like Nuln and Averheim and Wolfenburg. 8 other purple portals, smaller than this one, but slowly beginning to emerge on the horizon. Only to the west is it slightly clear, above the skies of Middenheim. The Knights of the Reichsguard, the Knights of the Blazing Sun, several dozens of priests led by the High Capitular himself are all stemming out of the Grand Cathedral of Sigmar, trying to get through the crowds of the streets and rush to the Imperial Palace. They will not make it in time. Only those inside the palace can determine where fate lies now. Siegfrieda, Heinrich, and Kruger. You're just getting to your feet, standing before those great double doors that led to the chapel of Sigmar inside the palace, that firmly then closed upon you. You're at the top of the grand staircase. You can see some of what's going on from the windows to your left and right as time slowly starts again, although it's still a little sluggish for some reason. You can see those portals far in the distance. You can see in the sky shapes of beings already beginning to emerge and circle around the palace. And you can see that just beneath you are 20 so-called Reichsguard, although now they have discarded some of their pauldrons and are proudly showing their purple bands. Leading them is Yana Zutermine, the Purple Hand, allegedly the Purple Hand's Magister Mysteri. It all makes sense, Kruger. It was all lies. The Purple Hand were not fleeing. They were organizing. This time, they're not all hiding in holes, waiting for you to come and get them. No, they've all assembled here. They were in the chapel, they're down the stairs, who knows how many more are in the palace. All assembled to bring about, well, this end of the Empire. Constantly ringing through your ears are the words of your tormentor. Yes, you stood bravely against this changeling. You openly defied them. But seeing all this happening, and being told that you are responsible, that you, in your heroic actions, brought about this end, well, how are you feeling?
Well, hearing that is of course extremely distressing, but it's not over until it's over. We can still put a stop to this. We have to be able to do so. The Warhammer, it was here. It is gone now, but if we get that, it still has power. Perhaps it can still put a stop to these things. Perhaps Sigmar's power can yet be wielded again, to save the Empire, once and for all.
That's certainly true. One thing's for sure, the hammer is real. No matter what trickery was performed, the hammer is real. You know the hammer is real. And the hammer defeated demons long ago. It is Sigmar's war hammer. It is the power to defeat demons. The only problem is, where is it, and who can wield it? But maybe you'll have to think about that in a moment. As things resume, and you, Heinrich, get ready to wield your weapons, and you, Siegfrieda, knife in hand, get ready to charge forwards, you kind of get the idea that Yana had been saying something, but you missed the first part. But it seems to be concluding with a sneer as she says, "I knew you'd refuse the Master's offer. Especially you, Siegfrieda. All too proud, too brilliant. And yet every deduction you ever made was by chance and luck. Oh, it was so irritating. But now, you're going to die. And you're going to die by the Purple Hand you believed you had crushed into oblivion. More specifically, you're going to die by my Purple Hand. Kill them!" What do you do, Siegfrieda?
I do what I set out to do. I've been told Erica isn't by my side, so I'll be going alone. This is not a battle I'm convinced I can win. I am no warrior, as has been established many times, but this isn't an occasion where I can hang back and perform emergency surgical procedures on those bearing injuries. I need to get in with my scalpel and perform some immediate vivisections of the enemy. In this case, maybe an amputation of Lady Yana's head from her neck. And that's going to take quite a lot of sawing, so I'll just have to start with the jugular and work my way down.
As you charge forward, is there an element of satisfaction to this? You always distrusted her, right? Is it such a surprise that she apparently was the leader of the entire cell in Altdorf?
Satisfaction, but disappointment that I didn't pursue it further. I don't have the time right now to second-guess myself. and think about how things might have been different if I had called her out, but no, there's no time for that now. She is a cancer and she needs to be extracted.
Then please make your attack roll. Weapon skill. Give yourself a +10.
I'm afraid not. That is a bad roll, so I'm going to roll again. Still a failure. I have failed by 4 degrees.
You rush forward. You are going to stab this woman straight in the neck, as you said, and remove it. And as you do so, you kind of then perhaps become aware that she is surrounded by a lot of armed individuals. She doesn't even dodge. Instead, as you hit at the neck, for a moment there's this strange purple shimmer, and your scalpel just bounces back. And she tilts her head and laughs. Oh dearie, really? Really? Kill that one! And several people close in on you. Heinrich Schilf. You see your friend Siegfrieda just charge without a care in the world at this unit of armed men. Sadly, it doesn't go well for her. What do you do?
Siegfrieda needn't fear, for as she charges, so too shall I.
Will you charge as she does straight at Yana Zutermine, or will you charge more generally and try and just hit some of these people? There are a lot of them.
I imagine my rage is a bit more tactically oriented, and I have no doubt that I could surround myself with enemies and still come out on top, but I'd prefer not to if I have the opportunity. So Siegfrieda, being smaller of frame, perhaps a bit more nimble, is able to duck through situations that I might not. So I find myself with a number of these so-called Reichsguard rather than the object of Siegfrieda's attention.
In that case, simple weapon skill or ballistic skill roll. Do not worry about reloading.
The great news about being Heinrich is that I can do both because I have my ambidextrous and dual wielding feats available.
You certainly can. And also, you're charging, so that's a +10. We won't worry about advantage because this is, again, narrative combat. But you do still get a +10 and you get a +30 because of point blank and it's a crowd. With the gun, that is.
It's going to be very difficult to miss. So, leveling first the pistol at the nearest Reichsguard, you see Heinrich's eyes narrow, and above the sound of melee, just his voice ringing out, "The Emperor's light burns bright, heretic. Pity you won't live to see it," as I point the pistol in his face and pull the trigger. That is an 87, but given the pile of bonuses and my weapon or my ballistic skill roll, that is still 3 levels of success.
Excellent. The individual tilts his head for just a moment, perhaps about to say something, before you blow his head clean off with a gigantic explosion of black powder. Then you aim your rapier, the great magical sword Baracle, and slay another, getting straight into this group that begin to surround you. What are you thinking, Kruger? What do you do? Siegfrieda backpedaling a little. Heinrich doing his best, but he is outnumbered. What do you do?
I'm studying this situation to try to understand if this is a fight that we can win through the might that we have at our fingertips right now, or do we need something to completely change this balance? I try to just observe that.
Why don't you make a perception roll? Give yourself a +20.
That is 35 under 88 in that case, so that is 5 levels of success.
You definitely need more. You need more. Even Heinrich can't take... He's killed 2. There's 20, and does this Zutermine have powers? And you're looking around, and... Oh. You notice there's another set of double doors. Of course there is. The set of double doors that led to the hallway, where all your friends and cohorts were. And you notice those doors have been closed, but you see them suddenly buckle, and buckle again. They're trying to break down the doors. Someone is, anyway. Someone is trying to break down those doors. You don't know if they're friend or foe.
It must be my friends. We have to take the chance. So I will rush for the doors then and try to open those up, hoping for reinforcements, because the 3 of us cannot finish this by ourselves.
You rush to the doors and you see they have indeed been barred, but you just need to get the bar out, but it's a bit difficult as they're trying to barge down the doors. You kind of yell something, and yes, please roll an athletics check. Give yourself a +10 as you try and unbar the doors. You also notice that just behind you, 3 individuals are starting to come towards you with spears.
That is 35 under 57, so that is 2 degrees of success.
That is enough. You unbar the doors, and through them come a deluge of warriors. You recognize some, not all, knights of the Knights Panther, priests of Sigmar. Baron Rainer Todbringer suddenly comes to your side and smashes one assailant straight in the head with his great war sword, screaming, "For Ulrich!" Priest Captain Jocelyn Sparheim comes in. Barrack, even the crew of the Berabel, all the people waiting outside are still there, and you, Siegfrieda, here on the ground, Erica barking somewhere, trying her best to rush towards you, as a wave of reinforcements spills in, causing this sudden group of people to change their targets and be distracted. However, Siegfrieda, you failed your role, and so as you hear your beloved hound coming for you, you look above and see a dagger coming down upon you. But you may attempt to dodge.
That's another skill in which I excel. That's a 48, which is, I believe, 2 degrees of failure. I'm not going to spend another fortune this early.
You do your best to try and dodge. And to be fair, it almost works. You can see that Yana is distracted. She looks behind her and sort of says, "Damn it! Gah!" But she then comes down on you anyway, as she stabs you almost in the neck. Almost by your ear, it's that close.
I have a leather skull cap that has armor value of 1.
In that case, 6 damage, so 1 armor and your toughness bonus. So you only take 2 wounds. This is a glancing blow, maybe just on your ear or just by your neck, as you do then dodge. Just dodge.
Okay. I scream out as the dagger slices through my ear, showering my shoulder, my neck with blood. I dive out of the way with as much speed as I am capable. This is not my natural environment, but I have to remain within it. I have to keep fighting this woman.
Indeed, and you stagger upwards, and Erica joins you. Heinrich Schilf, the battle becomes chaos for a moment. Foes to the left of you, but then allies to the right, everyone engaged in deadly combat. And as this is happening, you take down 2 more people. You see Lady Emmanuel Knack suddenly come to your side. She quickly shoots someone, bang, right next to you. Deafens you a little, but that's fine, you're used to the sound of black powder. She looks you dead in the eyes and says, "Status, Emperor Hammer, what's happening?"
I will recount the details as quickly as possible, as not to distract from the task at hand. The situation is dire but not lost. The Warhammer seems to have fallen to whatever pit this ritual circle has come from. The prince is wounded. I don't know if he yet lives. And the emperor, bless him, I do believe attempted to save the one of the circle. I haven't seen any of them since. We're fighting our way forward.
She nods grimly as you press the advantage, and the enemy begin to retreat. Not flee, but retreat. They are being pushed back. You notice then, Heinrich, looking above at the windows, you can see shadows. There are things out there, strange things, and as you're noticing that, one of the windows explodes, the glass shattering as strange, disc-like floating demons just pour through. Not in their hundreds, thankfully, but in their dozens, and they clearly start distracting some of your reinforcements. At this point, you see Quintus Fassbinder suddenly emerge, wielding his stick with surprising fury, and just stepping by your side and saying, "You must protect the Emperor and the hammer! We need the hammer!" Ruger, you hear this as you take down another foe with crossbow. What do? You're now right. You now are right next to your friends. You've kind of made a little circle and you're pushing back the foe.
Yes, what he's saying is correct. What Quintus Fassbinder is saying is absolutely correct. We need the Warhammer. It disappeared below somewhere. There was something. Wasn't there tunnels? A wine cellar of some kind. Perhaps it has ended up there. There was a path to get there, right?
You look, and yes, there it is, just a few barrels in the way of an old wine cellar. Lady Yana Zutovine mentioned it. It's a bit of a long shot, but maybe it's the only hope you have. If the hammer's there, that might be your only hope.
Yes, I begin moving those barrels aside then to try to get to this wine cellar and try to get down there. The hammer is our only choice, our only chance, and I will do my best to get to it, hoping that my friends and our allies will be able to, well, keep the enemy at bay, at least for some time.
Rainer Todbringer roars in anger, saying, "We will hold the line in the name of Ulrich!" And Lady Emmanuel just nods at you as you rush off, Kruger, and says to you, Heinrich, "We'll hold the line!" and is distracted by combat. As that's happening, Siegfrieda, you look around. Erica is by your side, and for a moment you hear someone coming behind you, some man with a massive pole, and then he falls as Apprentice Leah comes from behind with a small short sword of her own and just drives it into him, looking at you with defiance. But Lady Yana Zutovine, she's gone. She's gone. What do? You see your friends and you hear what they're saying, and they're all rushing towards this basement, this tunnel basement. What do?
Is there an imminent threat on my life?
Not imminent, no. You see that all your allies are doing their best to hold off these foes, and there are a lot of them coming, but they're holding them off.
In that case, my place is by Heinrich and Kruger's side. I will say, "Come, Erica," and dash after them.
"Good luck, my lady," says Leah.
Yes, I probably should have thanked her, but there'll be time for that afterwards.
Kruger, you dive forwards. You see these barrels, these boxes, you kick them down. You don't have time to worry about being neat here. And then just as you're about to enter this tunnel going down, you see above you someone leap in your way. Lady Yana Zutovine. She screams at you. "The best part is, you are always so much better than the real Castelliberung!"
If my weapon is loaded, I will fire upon her. If not, I'll go for her with my knife. I will take her down. She is the one who has destroyed my life, after all.
In many ways, perhaps yes. Make your attack.
I'll fire my crossbow, and that's a 16 under 60. So that is 5 degrees.
You aim and you fire your crossbow straight into her gut. She falls back. Ah! And as you go past her, she simply says, "It's too late, dearie. You've lost. Even if I die, you've lost."
Nothing is over until it's completely over. And I don't have time for her. I have to get to the Warhammer. We have to get to the Warhammer.
Then you rush forwards, and Heinrich you follow past. Siegfrieda, you see Lady Yana Zutovine. Crossbow in the gut. She doesn't have long, but would you like to finish her off, or do you just leave her to her fate?
I mean, there's a lovely symmetry in that. When I first met these two gentlemen, my first action really was ending the life of someone suffering. Looking down at her, I look to Erica and say, "Erica, you finish her off. And I will run on with Heinrich and Kruger. She can be eaten alive."
Perhaps it's a blessing in disguise, because Erica at the end of the day is not a cruel creature. And so, as she tears out Lady Yana Zutovine's throat, it's actually extremely quick. She simply gurgles one last time. But again, the three of you have more important things. You rush down, you kick open a door. You are in an old basement filled with cobwebs, some torches, lots of boxes. You look around and yes, it's actually quite a large basement. It almost covers the entire length of the room above you, which is of course the Chapel of Sigmar. There, in the center, there is a glow. The Hammer of Sigmar, Galmaraz, is here. The podium, it's fallen off the podium, of course, but it's on some sort of conveyor belt trapdoor mechanism. It's some sort of lifting platform, which you look up and there's ropes, and yes, there's literally an actual trapdoor. It must have been covered very well, but it was there the whole time. That's how it fell down. And as you approach, of course, you are attacked. The individuals are less in number here, but they are, perhaps, Heinrich, better trained. How, Heinrich Schilf, do you deal with the two individuals who attack you? One is carrying a very large greatsword, a hulking man, and the other, a woman, 2 daggers. You will defeat them. But how? You tell us.
There's no need to reload, no need to waste any kind of ammunition. The one with the greatsword is entirely too slow to match my speed with the rapier, and the one with the daggers has no mean to block a flurry of blows. So he can cut clean across the first, and then stab the second, depending on whether she decides to move left or right. Doesn't ultimately matter.
That's how it happens. It's so swift, almost like a beautiful dance. And in their defense, you think they weren't bad, but you were better. Siegfrieda, as your Heinrich as always leads the way and dispatches with ease. One smaller man, but still a very large spear, does rush straight at you. How do you deal with them, especially with Erica by your side?
If Erica is back by my side, I will command attack! Kill! I will keep my scalpel in my hand in case he reaches me, given that he has a pole arm, but I would hope that Erica will be able to bring him down at least. She's a big dog.
That she is. With blood fresh on her muzzle, she strikes again. It's almost a thing of beauty. She goes in the air, her throat is removed, this gentleman crashes down before you, the polearm almost reaching you, but not quite. As again, you dispatch this foe. As for you, Kruger Hoffman, there seems to be 2 more that come from behind. These 2 are armed with crossbows. One of them says, "Don't let them near it! Don't let them near it!" But it's too late for them. How do you finish these 2 off?
Well, I'll fire another bolt, and then, not having enough time to reload, I'll move in with my knife to take down the other one before he can get his crossbow bolt off, presumably, or just dodging it and getting at him as he's trying to reload.
It's hard work, isn't it, Kruger? Stabbing someone as opposed to shooting them with the crossbow, but you get it done. You don't have time to worry about these things. And just like that, your foes have fallen before you. You all take a moment to pant, you're all sweating, you hear a shaking sound as the room shakes a little for a moment, a lot of dust falling from the ceiling. And then you all hear in your minds a voice. This voice is not the mocking voice of the so-called changeling. No, this is the voice you heard in the caves. A voice you never quite, resolved, really. It simply says, you don't think it's speaking directly to you. No, it's more like it's speaking in your minds. And by the tone, you think it's actually speaking to everyone. As it simply says, "Are you watching, Sigma? Can you see your empire? After thousands of years I return, and I will smite and bring down your jewel as punishment for your audacity to stand against me and the great architect. Listen well, pathetic mortals. The time of prophecy is at hand. 9 portals summon 9 hosts. 9 foolish souls willingly spill their blood. The hour, the 9th hour, is here. And know that this moment of salutation and deliverance, this moment of the great change, is delivered by your champions, your heroes. Know and despair." And then it seems to end. What do the 3 of you do?
Faith is measured in blood, and I will spill as much as it takes to see this evil put to rest.
And I continue looking for the hammer. The hammer, it is all about the hammer. Just need to get the hammer.
Yes, it's over there. You've killed the foes in the room, and there it is on this platform with this little lever on the side, and there's the hammer. What do you do?
I have no idea if I would be able to pick it up. I'm not supposed to be able to do it. But I'll try anyway. And I'll motion to Heinrich as well to join. Perhaps he can. I mean, Sigmar chose him, didn't he?
You go over, Kruger Hoffman. You try and move the hammer. It weighs a ton. You can't. You can't. And it even burns a little, hurt your fingers a little, just a little. You're not sure why. And as you see Heinrich heading over, Siegfrieda, you remember that little weird moment you just had earlier. Why did the demon not mock you about Wittgendorf? Why did he not mock Heinrich about what happened in the chapel? Is it entirely possible that what happened in that chapel was not the work of demons, but something else? When Heinrich pushed aside that grave like it was nothing, when he leant down and said he was spoken to by a god, was that not part of the plan?
Well, while there are many divinities in the heavens, and it's quite possible another one may have intervened, I don't want to imagine the kind of god that would have permitted what was going on in Wittgendorf. So I'm not exactly looking to whoever intervened there as some kind of merciful god. And even reflecting on that, there is very little I can do with that information right now. It's not like I can summon Sigmar to our side.
No.
Is it apparent to me that Kruger is attempting to retrieve the hammer and failing?
Yes.
I call over to Heinrich. You're chosen. You were chosen by Sigmar. Sigmar has been intervening to protect you in some way I do not wish to fathom, but you can wield this thing.
Then that's what happened. You see Kruger failing, but then Siegfrieda comes and just says this, and it seems almost a little out of the blue, but you think she means it. No role needed.
It feels deeply nonsensical. Kruger was the one who pulled it up out of the cave.
When you think about it, did he? He didn't, actually. He just touched it. That's all he actually did. Now you think about it, all he did was simply put his hand on the hammer. He never actually pulled it in any direction.
Well, I rest assured that Heinrich is not having this debate. If Siegfrieda says it and he sees that Kruger can't, the only way forward is forward. So, if for no other reason than he thinks maybe Kruger needs a hand just getting it in the air, I will, run over and grab by the hilt and pull or lift as is appropriate.
At first, you feel a great weight, as if this hammer is beyond your strength. And then, for a moment, time slows again. For a moment you're filled with annoyance, anger, not again, not another interruption from a jester or a demon. But it's not the same. It feels different, it feels further away. You look up. You swear you can see the light. And then you hear a voice that you heard quite long ago now. I have not abandoned the world. I have not abandoned the world. When the red comet flies, when the end times come, I will return. I will stand with you. Till then, wield the light and smite our foes. How do you respond to that, Heinrich? It's very surreal, this.
Faith like steel demands to be tempered, but wars cannot be won by steel alone. If you are truly what you say you are, if all the books, if all the stories are true, your empire has never needed you more than now. Lend me the strength to see us through this moment and to bring the empire of men to the triumph you founded.
I will. You are not chosen, but you will be the chosen's herald. And you lift the hammer. And it doesn't make any sense, Heinrich. This is a great two-handed warhammer, but you realize you are holding it one-handed, as if holding your rapier. It feels as light as that. And even though you are not an expert in warhammer combat, you know how to wield Galmaraz. Siegfrieda, Kruger, you see Heinrich stop for a moment, look up, and then he lifts the warhammer one-handed. Siegfrieda, this is literally impossible, what you're seeing. But it's happening.
There's a part of me that's speechless. There's actually a part of me, a rather significant part, that feels terrible for Kruger. Almost as if this was his destiny and it's been taken from him, although not with any malevolence. And yeah, all I can really do is stop and stare. If no one is immediately at risk of stabbing me, I will stare in awe.
Kruger, how are you feeling? It's odd. You reach for the hammer and there was just something not there. Not there. There was something in you that it's almost like you just felt unworthy. It's quite a strange feeling. But, well, it seems Heinrich is worthy. How does that make you feel?
I'm ecstatic. We are able to wield this weapon. I mean, this can be the thing that can actually allow us to perhaps win this fight. I mean, I was under no illusion that I was Sigmar's chosen or anything like that. I'm Caster Liebering. I'm the Purple Hand's chosen, whatever that means. But I'm not a direct tool of the gods in that way. But I can still help. And this is something that we do together. And if Heinrich can wield it, that is wonderful, because now we have a fighting chance.
Heinrich Schilf. The voice is gone. Your two friends are staring at you in confusion and awe, and you are holding the legendary Galmaraz one-handed.
For a moment, I am also staring back at them with confusion and awe. There's an amount of surprise, I suppose. The physical taking precedence over the mental for a moment, wondering how this thing can be wielded one-handed before fully realizing that this thing is no mere thing. This is the legendary Galmaraz, the weapon forged by Smednir. It has defeated the Ever-Chosen of Chaos. It has crushed the great necromancer Nagash, and now I have it in my hand. The only person in all of human history not to sit on the throne of the Empire to wield it.
Yes. You're not quite sure what it meant by the Chosen's herald and not the Chosen, but maybe that doesn't matter right now. As this moment of awe passes, you hear outside the sounds of conflict, although they are not with you right now. And, well, Kruger, you notice that you're all standing on this little cargo lift. You think if you pulled the lever, it might take you straight up.
I'll say to Heinrich and Siegfrieda then, let's take the lift up and go help our friends.
We will end this as we started it, together.
I nod and follow with Erica at my side.
Then do you pull the lever and go upwards? To clarify, that will mean you go up into the chapel itself, not up outside, just to clarify.
Absolutely.
Then you pull the lever, it begins rattling upwards. As it gets near the top, old wooden platform opens up. It must have been hidden behind carpeting and stone, which has clearly been removed, because now it opens easily. All part of the plan, you think to yourself, Kruger. All part of the plan. If only you'd had time to fully investigate this whole place, but then, well, why would you have? You trusted those who were above you. Those who, it seems, were misled. But still, you emerge. It is not a pleasant sight that awaits you in the chapel of Sigmar. There are corpses everywhere. Dozens of officials and envoys, all those people who are in the room other than you, are lying on the ground, clearly dead, their bodies thrown about, broken, spilled over wooden pews, bits of masonry. You look up and see that the chapel's ceiling is obscured by the swirling purple vortex, within which you can see laughing, screaming abominations slowly getting ready to come through. You can hear from outside, some of them already have come through on the outside. You look around. To the left and right is rubble, the other two entrances to this area having been blown, possibly by black powder barrels. Makes sense. The only way in is the doors behind you, where you can hear the sounds of conflict and battle. Your friends just outside, but barred off by doors that will take some time, you think, to get open. In front of you, you see what was once Crown Prince Wolfgang. There is no role needed, Siegfrieda and Heinrich. They're gone. Their floating body has already begun to distort and warp. Great bone-like wings now spewing from their back. Their size already doubled as they're becoming bigger and bigger, floating, it seems, in a strange ball of purple and blue energy. They're no longer, it seems, at that sigil in the floor. You look down and you're in that sigil, but it seems it's no longer glowing. You think, sadly, Heinrich Schilf, from your lore chaos, that summoning rituals like this often no longer need the ritual on the floor when they're underway. That's no longer needed. You also remember there were 9 strange individuals in the room, other than the envoys, that were all standing and saying something in that moment of frozen time. You look at their direction, and they no longer exist. You see 9 burnt piles of ash on the ground and a bit of clothing. It seems maybe they were not so rewarded in the way they thought they'd be rewarded. Whoever they were. Seeing the floating being now all the way at the back of the chamber, there is one other thing occurring. You see, engaged in battle, the High Patriarch, Virus Gorman, firing some light beam against the Changeling, cloaked in purple and blue fire, strange occult scrolls coming from his robes, a big thick staff in one hand, and 2 other hands surrounding the wizard in bluish fire. As you emerge in the room, you think this wizard he's above a few knights and the Emperor, there's the Emperor and his army, he's down on the ground. And as you enter, suddenly he sort of looks your direction and says, "You must protect the Emperor!" And as he says that, his concentration breaks, and he is engulfed in blue flame, screaming as he is burned alive. At that, the Changeling turns its head to you. "What are you doing with that? That's cheating!"
Wretched creature, your crimes are many, your excuses few, and my patience thin. Let us end this.
You wish to have one more round, do you? What rude, sore losers. But cheating, I see. Sigma finally shows their card. Well played. One more round it is then. However, he begins to float in the air. Above, in front of the other being coming into formation, who again, isn't moving. They're not here yet. They're forming, but they're not here yet. And he moves forward and says, "But if you are going to cheat, then so can I. I can take on the form of any being bar my master, but it rather spoils the story if a dragon appears in the first act. But perhaps Lord Shiragetru would not mind me borrowing them for a moment." And the figure undulates and shifts and expands in size to a monstrous form which lands on the ground with a thud. You see before you a being that looks similar to the being behind it, but whereas that being is half-formed and only slowly moving, this thing is fully imagined. It has 2 gigantic blue-purple bird-like wings that spread and cover the entire chamber. 2 legs, 2 arms, covered in strange blue robes, and also burnished with several rings and bracelets filled with eldritch runes. The staff expands in size exponentially and seems to be glowing, crackling with blue-purple energy. The head, a hideous, bird-like mockery. It looks like a bird with a beak and eyes, but it is no bird. But it is a monstrous being. It tilts its head and looks down at you, for it is truly monstrous in size, and says, "I was going to be gracious, but now I am going to crush your bodies, drink the souls of all those you care about, and bring your empire to ruins!" Does anyone say anything before battle begins?
Raising the hammer, leaning forward, ready to charge at it despite its great size, I have only 2 words to add. Prove it.
And so, you charge, as the being lifts its staff, brings it down hard, and reality bends and twists.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the legendary campaign The Enemy Within for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition, published by Cubicle 7. In this final part of the series, we are tackling Empire in Ruins. Joining us as players in this series are none other than Aaron Hammonds from Queen's Court Games and our dear friend Matthew Dawkins. The music was made by Flowers for Body Snatchers, Wordclock, Metatron Omega, Ager Sonus, Apocryphus, Halgrath, and Northumbria, featuring a number of collaborations with other artists, and was used with permission from their label Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon: Martin Heuschober, Simon Cooper, Julia, Camilla, Bob Lange, Cameron, Graham Barey, Dick Thomson, Lily, Maciej, Black Templar, Dennis Sadecki, and Leonhardt for their generous support. We would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to our Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay bonus campaign, Rough Nights and Hard Days, as well as bonus campaigns for Warhammer 40k Imperium Maledictum, Cult of Indeed Lost, and Call of Cthulhu there. On top of that, we also offer early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play some Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember that Skaven are definitely not real, and even if they were, the Emperor has already dealt with that threat long ago.